Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the September 5th meeting of the New York Metropolitan Transportation Council, or the Council. I am Deborah Nelson. I am the Director of the Office of Policy Planning and Performance for the New York State Department of Transportation. This council meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the NYMTC website within 2 weeks of the meeting. At this time, I'm going to begin roll call, and when I announce your agency, I am asking each principal or representative to state your name and agency, and if applicable, whom you are representing. I will begin with the voting members of the council. I'm Deborah Nelson of New York State Department of Transportation, representing New York State Commissioner Marie-Therese Dominguez. New York City DOT.
Hi, Deborah. Paul Ochoa, Executive Deputy Commissioner, New York City DOT, representing Commissioner Idanes Rodriguez.
Thank you. New York City Department of City Planning.
Hunter Clark, representing Commissioner Dan Garodnick.
Thank you. Nassau County.
Joe Cuomo, representing Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman.
Thank you. Suffolk County.
Elisa Pica, representing County Executive Ed Romaine.
Thank you. Rockland County.
Stephen Powers, representing Rockland County Executive Edwin J. Day.
Thank you. Putnam County. I'm sorry, we're unable to hear you. Putnam County.
Barbara Barossa, representing Putnam County Executive.
Thank you, Barbara. Westchester County.
Doug Later, representing Westchester County Executive Tim Sanders.
And the Metropolitan Transportation Authority.
Michael Schiffer, representing Chair Jano Weaver of MTA.
Great. Thank you. And now for the advisory members of the Council. Federal Transit Administration.
Good morning, I'm Dan Moser, representing FTA Region 2 Regional Administrator Mike Collada.
Thank you, Dan. Federal Highway Administration.
Good morning, everyone. Gautam Mani, representing New York Division Administrator Rick Markey.
Thank you, Gautam. Is there anyone on from New Jersey Transit? Okay. North Jersey Transportation Planning Authority.
David Barron, NJTPA.
Thank you, David. The United States Environmental Protection Agency.
This is Hep Tran, representing EPA Region 2 Regional Administrator Michael Matucci.
Thank you, Reed. Port Authority of New York and New Jersey.
Good morning. Jay Sheffield, representing Port Authority Executive Director Rick Cotton.
Thank you, Jay. And New York State Department of Environmental Conservation.
Good morning. Robert Plua, representing DEC Commissioner Amanda Lepkin.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you all. And by my count and under our operating procedures, we have a quorum for today's meeting. I will now ask NYMTC's Executive Director, Adam Levine, to give his report.
Thank you, Deborah. And thank you to all of our members who are gathered here today for the second time this year. We met just a few months ago at our annual council meeting in February to adopt NYMTC's planning program and budget and to celebrate our theme of proactive mobility, centering our conversation around planning efforts for active transportation. Every 3 to 4 years, though, we hold an additional council meeting in September to adopt one of our other major required efforts, the Transportation Improvement Program, also known as the TIP, or our Regional Transportation Plan. This year, good fortune has aligned both of those schedules, and we will be placing both the TIP and the plan before you for approval and adoption. I won't go into detail about them now, as you'll be presented with them by NYMTC staff in just a few minutes, but I do want to talk a bit about the process it took to bring us here. The mission statement of NYMTC focuses the collective efforts of member agencies and NYMTC staff on 4 pillars: serving as a collaborative forum for transportation discussions, providing sound technical analysis, maximizing the opportunity for bringing additional federal funding to the region, and focusing our efforts on a shared regional vision. All 4 of these pillars are reflected in the work you will be voting on shortly. Collaboration isn't a synonym for kumbaya. Each of you has a perspective on the needs of your community, and you fight for them, just as we fight for you. We provide the table, physical or virtual, to bring you all together, to share those perspectives, to champion your communities, to push for a better city, better county, a better region. We want you, we expect you to bring those perspectives, those concerns, those needs into the conversation. There's a popular song right now with a line that says, "We can't fix it if we never face it." And for the past 2 years, we've been facing all of these needs together as we have developed these documents for your approval. We have brought that sound technical analysis to the task as we use the NYMTC traffic model, the New York best practice model, to understand the impacts of planned projects on congestion and air quality. We have also used extensive socioeconomic and demographic forecasting to show where jobs and housing are expected to grow across the next 30 years. On the topic of maximizing federal funding opportunities, that has been a sustained effort throughout NYMTC's existence, and never more so than in the past few years, since the inception of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. Since IIJA began, NYMTC staff have provided advance notice of upcoming funding opportunities. We have provided supporting documentation for over 100 of your grant applications, and we have reported out on the successful awarding of just barely under $10 billion of discretionary project awards. All of that support is based on the work we have done together to develop the plan, and all of those projects find their way into the TIP. That fourth pillar, creating a shared regional vision, was perhaps simultaneously the easiest and the most painstaking to produce. Easiest in the sense that we can all agree that a safe, resilient, and fair transportation network that is sustainable and mitigates congestion, and where enhancements are supported by land use decisions and reduce pollutants, is kind of taken as a given. But the many different needs and constituencies of you, our members, necessitated many conversations to develop specific objectives and to craft language describing them that was agreeable to all. But we all got it done together, and there it is right in the first chapter of Moving Forward 2055, which you'll hear about more in a few moments. So it has been a long journey that has brought us to today, and it hasn't always been easy, but New Yorkers don't expect easy. They just expect us to get it done, and we have. As I close my report, I need to take this opportunity to thank the many, many people who have collaborated to get it done. You, our members, for your attention and persistence. NYMTC staff, for your tremendous work, truly inspiring. The media, both traditional and social, for helping to get the word out. And the traveling public, who provided thousands of thoughtful comments and for whom all of us have the honor to serve. Thank you. I will now turn the meeting back to Deborah Nelson.
Thank you, Adam. And now, moving on to today's agenda, we are going to hear presentations of those key transportation plans that we've worked so hard together to get to. The draft regional transportation plan that's called Moving Forward 2055, and that will be covering federal fiscal years 2026 to 2055. The draft 2025 Congestion Management Process Status Report, and the federal fiscal years 2026 to 2030 Transportation Improvement Program, or the TIP. I'm going to ask Larissa Marazcafia, sorry, Marissa, I never say your name quite right, to kick off this segment of the meeting. Larissa?
Yes. Hi, thank you, Deborah. Good morning, everybody. So as Deborah mentioned, we are going to present to you the 3 products which we are going to adopt later today. The long-range plan, the congestion management process, and the TIP. Next slide, please. So before we dive into the documents, let's look a little bit at the NYMTC itself and how the planning process taking place. On this map shows NYMTC 10-county planning area, which is a home to approximately 13.2 million people. This is approximately 65% of New York State population and 4% of population of the United States. Our planning area covers approximately 2,400 square miles. As you can see on this map, the planning area divided into sub-regional areas. Each sub-area is served by a Transportation Coordinating Committee, or TCC. Rockland, Putnam, and Westchester counties are served by the Mid-Hudson South TCC. Nassau and Suffolk counties served by the Nassau-Suffolk TCC. And the Bronx, Manhattan, Staten Island, Brooklyn, and Queens are served by the New York City TCC. This process allows us to better respond to local needs in our planning area. Next slide, please. This graphic helps represent an overview of NYMTC's planning process and key activities and requirements. As an NPO, NYMTC is required to produce 4 planning products: the Regional Transportation Plan, the RTP, which defines long-range needs, the Unified Planning Working Program, UPWP, which is a one-year statement of work that identifies how the NPO will spend federal dollars on planning activities, a public involvement plan that outlines engagement with the public, and the Transportation Improvement Program, which defines the schedules and funding for future projects. NYMTC also undertakes 3 planning processes: a congestion management process, the CMP, and the regional emission analysis for transportation conformity, which analyze congestion and air quality impacts of the future transportation system, and the transportation performance management, which uses metrics to track our region progress towards national goals. So we will be presenting on the RTP, the CMP, and the TIP in today's meeting. Next slide, please. Before we move into details of all these efforts, we would like to note that the 3 products conducted public review periods to meet federal requirements and to collect valuable feedback. 2 public review periods were held. In June, we had a public review period for the Transportation Improvement Program, and in July, it was a common period for the RTP and the CMP. Virtual public review sessions for all products were held during those review periods, and any comments received during this time were addressed and documented as required. So the NYMTC Regional Transportation Plan. Next slide, please. Next, yeah, and one more, please. Thank you. So moving forward, 2055 is NYMTC's next regional transportation. Next slide. Is next regional transportation plan. The plan looks at current condition, needs, and future objectives over a minimum 20-year time frame. The plan must be updated every 4 years, and as such acts as a continually updated blueprint for the region, intends to use federal investments to achieve its goals. It is developed with extensive help and contribution from the members, relevant agencies, stakeholders, and the public. So next slide, please. So what is the regional plan? The Moving Forward 2055 covers all modes of surface transportation, including highways, streets, public transportation, bicycles and pedestrian facilities, good movement, and human services transportation. In addition, it addresses key transportation activities such as operation, maintenance, and management of the transportation system, safety and security issues, and evaluates costs and funding details for this large, complex transportation system. You can explore Moving Forward 2055 by using our interactive plan portal, where you can view chapters, appendixes, summaries, interactive web maps, and more. You can access this portal directly or through NYMTC's website at nymtec.org. Next slide, please. The outreach program during plan development included a wide variety of tools and techniques to inform and engage as many community members as possible. Primary efforts took place from September of 2023 through June of 2024. It included interactive websites, videos, social media, focus groups, and forums to collect feedback, in-person events, surveys, and outreach to dozens community-based organizations. All these were used to get the public involved in this process. Next slide, please. Surveying and receiving feedback are critical to building a successful plan. Our interactive survey and geolocated dashboard help users submit their input on locations and issues that matter to them. We heard from more than 2,800 responders, identified over 1,300 locations, and cataloged more than 500 comments. This feedback helps NYMTC understand what's important to community members throughout the planning area. Next slide, please. So this slide represents the 9 guiding principles which inform our regional transportation planning process. These guiding principles shape how we follow our vision and pursue our goals. And these principles include value the need for all users, the funding for transportation efficiently, achieve connected networks, achieve multi-system accessibility and interoperability, integrate the regional transportation system, support multi-agencies approaches, engage the public, collect and share quality metrics and data, and embrace innovation and technological advancement. On the next slide, you can see that NYMTC recognizes that mobility is crucial to the lives of residents and visitors alike, as well as the region's economic vitality. We aspire to ensure that all people, regardless of race, disability status, age, or socioeconomic background, have a right to live, work, and play in communities that are safe, healthy, and free of harmful environmental conditions. Our vision is one in which safe, accessible, and efficiently mobility for people and goods is made possible by well-maintained and reliable infrastructure. On the next slide, you can see that given this vision, we organized Plan 2055 around 7 goals: the safety and security, infrastructure, resiliency, congestion, land use, fairness and access, and environment. Details on the shared goals can be found in Chapter 4 of the plan. Much more details can be found down there. At this point, I'll ask Leslie Forger to introduce the financial part of the Plan 2055. Leslie?
Thank you, Larissa. So, real briefly, we'll take you through the financial section of the plan. So, we are federally required to have, system-level estimates of costs and resources available, resources will be available through the length of the plan, which is from 2026 to 2035. So that's one requirement we need to have. The second requirement is that we have to have an estimate of funds that will be available for the implementation of the plan. And the third requirement are additional financing strategies for the implementation of the plan. So these 3 components need to be part of our plan in order for us to really have a plan. Next slide, please. All right, for the federally supported transportation system, we have 3 cost and resources categories. We have operations and maintenance, system preservation, and system enhancement. Operations and maintenance is essentially just the, maintenance of the, day-to-day running of the transportation system. The usual sort of tune-ups for buses or subways or what have you. System preservation are more larger scale projects that are geared towards, preserving, the infrastructure, repair jobs, roads, and other such things. These projects they basically do not take the capacity of the existing transportation system, but it keeps it in good repair, And then the third item, system enhancements, are projects that actually change the capacity of the existing transportation system. So, for example, the Second Avenue Subway, Phase 2, which will add 3 new stops, is an example of a system enhancer project. So these are the 3 types of projects that are, that we do go into in the cost and resource categories. And this is for the federally supported transportation system. Next slide, please. So what you see on the screen is our projected costs and resources for the life of the plan, again, from 2026 to 2055. As you can see here, we're in good shape. We have enough resources, or we are projecting enough resources to cover the costs. We're projecting 993 billion resources on O&M to cover the 936 billion projected costs. On the system preservation enhancement side, we are projecting 771 billion, covering the 747 in costs. So we're projecting that we have enough resources to cover the costs for the life of the plan, for both system preservation and operations and maintenance. And system preservation also includes enhancements as well. So in short, we're in good shape. We're covered. Next slide, please. So next we will talk about the key plan appendices. You see 5 items on the screen. The first 3 items here, active transportation plan, coordinated public transit, human service transportation plan, and regional freight element, they're all plans within the plan, while the last 2 are more of an assessment. So active transportation plan is traditionally the ped bike plan in previous iterations of plans of RTPs. But now it's been expanded to include other modes of transit that utilizes ped bike infrastructure. So it's a little bit broader in scope. The coordinated public transit human service transportation plan basically focuses on planning for the needs of individuals with for the elderly and individuals with disabilities. The regional freight element is essentially a freight plan for the region, the whole NYMTC region. So the first 3 items, as I said before, are plans within the plan. The next item here, the Title 6 assessment, is an assessment that basically analyzes the impact of projects on minority and low-income populations. So communities with larger minority and low-income populations, sort of analyze, or just assess basically the negative effects of projects that it would have on these communities. And last but certainly not least, we have the environmental mitigation and new consultation, where basically we have, this is sort of an assessment of projects. There's 2 parts of this. There's an assessment of projects, basically affecting communities, but we're analyzing measures to mitigate the negative externalities of these projects and communities, while at the same time consulting with communities. So we're mitigating the negative externalities of a project on a community while, consulting communities in the process, just to help mitigate, any negative, fallout of any project. So next slide, please. All right, next up, we will, I'll hand over to John Simpson. He will talk about the congestion management process status report. John, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Leslie. So in this set of slides, I will be talking about the CMP status report, which we are publishing with our Regional Transportation Plan and Transportation Improvement Program. With a population of over 200,000 people in the metropolitan area, the NYMTC planning area qualifies as a transportation management area. Because of this, NYMTC is required to conduct a congestion management process that systematically forecasts traffic congestion, produces specific performance measures to identify levels of congestion, and to prepare a program to reduce that congestion. While the CMP is an ongoing process aimed at reducing recurring congestion in the planning area, the CMP status report is a static document that provides updates on the current state of congestion in the planning area, along with forecasts and strategies to address congestion. We release this document as part of our congestion management process every 4 years alongside our regional transportation plan. Next slide, please. On this slide, we have provided examples of our data analysis and forecasting. On the left is a congestion map of Manhattan depicting peak hours of excessive delay in the weekday AM peak period. Amber segments are mildly congested, while red segments are severely congested. As part of our analysis of current conditions, we created these congestion maps for each county, each time period, and each of our current conditions analysis performance measures. On the right is a forecast chart for the Long Island subregion in the Nassau-Suffolk TCC, showing daily VMT, daily VHD, and population. The dark blue bar represents the data for the base year of the BPM of 2019, while the orange bar represents the BPM output for the horizon year of 2055, with bright orange indicating the change from the base year with the percent change noted. Next slide, please. The CMP status report also contains a toolbox of congestion reduction strategies to be considered in the planning process and relates congestion management to relevant goals, objectives, strategies, and actions from the plan, particularly the congestion goal. The congestion management process is also used for system enhancement initiatives programmed in the plan and TIP. And with that, I will hand the presentation over to Mike Toomey for our next product, the Federal Fiscal Year 2026 to 2030 Transportation Improvement Program, or the TIP.
Thank you, John. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, as John said, that I'm going to present in regard to the new, regarding the new fiscal year 2020, federal fiscal year 2026-2030 TIP. To start, the TIP is an enabling document which allows funds appropriated by Congress to be programmed by NYMTC members. The TIP represents the collective decision-making for our Metropolitan Planning Organization, and NYMTC's voting members select projects for inclusion in the TIP based on the needs and goals identified in its planning process. NYMTC's TIP is programmed for 5 years from federal fiscal year 2026 to 2030. The first 4 years of the TIP matches the State Transportation Improvement Program, or STIP, which enables the obligation and eventually a federal reimbursement of funds encumbered by our members. The TIP is substantial, with over 900 projects now by the Metropolitan Planning Organization, and provides funding for numerous transportation needs, including transportation projects, roadway and bridge projects, which are rehab or construction, bicycle and pedestrian projects, safety projects, system and demand management projects, and also operating and maintenance projects. Next slide, please. A new TIP is usually developed every 2 to 3 years. Our last TIP update cycle is for the fiscal year 2023-2027, which is our current program right now. This is an enormous effort, and it can take as long as an entire year to develop and construct a new TIP, and requires the condition of many agencies. Development cycles are also coordinated with a statewide TIP or STIP development schedule and with our system MPOs. TIP development cycles include updating existing projects, programming new projects, and adding new future fiscal years. In addition, an air quality analysis of the program is completed for transportation conformity purposes to ensure projects selected do not violate the national ambient air quality standards under the Clean Air Act. Next slide, please. The proposed Federal Fiscal Year 26-30 program replaces the current program in hand of advancing projects previously chosen, while shifting the direction to meet our regional future needs. Here we illustrate the current TIP vs the proposed TIP. Our new TIP will begin the 4th year of the current TIP, and it will replace the TIP. This will be the start of a new 5-year transportation program compiled by members to address our region's future transportation needs. Next slide, please. The intent of this TIP update is to identify needs independent of fund source and distribute targets accordingly. Funding levels are determined by Multi-Year Authorization Act. Federal authorization for each funding program are set by the current Authorization Act, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, IIJA, through September 30, 2026. Since the 26-30 TIP extends beyond that date, funding or planning targets are set with the following assumptions. Federal authorization for each funding program are set by the IIJA through September 30, 2026. Assumed New York State funding levels for fiscal year 2027 through 2030 are derived from the IIJA authorization. New York State DOT uses these as assumed funding levels to develop planning targets for each of its 11 administrative regions. Next slide, please. NYMTC's program is physically constrained. Fiscal constraint has been a requirement since the passage of the Intermodal Surface Transportation Efficient Act in 1991. Therefore, the program is not just a collection of projects or a wish list. It is federally mandated that the fiscal constraint program does not exceed resources that are reasonably expected to be available in our regional transportation plan and transportation improvement program. To that end, our program cannot exceed the planning targets set by the state. The program is balanced against the various funding streams to ensure the resources are sufficient to cover proposed expenses. Next slide, please. The proposed 26 through 2030 TIP program includes $39.1 billion worth of projects. The graph on the screen shows the funding by NYMTC sub-regions, New York City, Long Island, and Lower Hudson Valley. Some important things to note. There was a 6% increase between TIPs, the 2023 to 27 TIP, and the 2026-2030 TIP. There's an increase of 6% between these two TIPs, and also roughly 79% of the $39.1 billion total is programmed in New York City itself. It is important to note that a significant portion of this total includes locally funded transit-related projects. Per federal regulation, the TIP must include regional significant projects, even they do not use federal aid. That's why we see we have a big sum of money in New York City. As shown on the screen, the remaining 21% is programmed to Long Island and Lower Hudson Valley. Next slide, please. The graph on the screen shows the 5-year program by federal fiscal year. Often more funds are programmed within the first few years. In this case, we expect 44% of the total programmed amount to be utilized by the end of fiscal year 2027. The amounts programmed generally will decrease from fiscal year 2027 all the way to fiscal year 2030, except for an increase in federal fiscal year 29 due to large-scale transit projects. Next slide, please. Okay, this slide shows how the proposed $39.1 billion program is funded. 58% of federal aid and 42% state are all local aid. In comparison, the current adopted TIP utilizes more state local aid with a split between 40% to 60%, while we have vice versa for the new TIP which we have to adopt today. This variation depends on the projects being programmed, their schedules, and the availability of federal funds. Next slide, please. Okay, the slide shows that there are 910 unique projects of varying sizes and scopes within this program. Note that the number of projects should not be conflated with the size of a sub-region's program. That's a thing to note there. Next slide, please. Okay, this will be my last slide. With the passage of Map 21 moving ahead for progress in the 21st Century Act of 2012, Congress has additional requirements tying the development of the TIP and the long-range transportation plan with national goals and targets. These national performance goals include improving safety, infrastructure condition, congestion reduction, system reliability, freight movement and economic vitality, improved project delivery, and environmental sustainability. This requirement is addressed in Appendix A of the document, where we provide a detailed explanation of the performance measures, our targets, and how our program is meeting them. And with this slide, I come to the end of my presentation regarding to the new TIP. Thank you. Back to you, Deborah.
Great. Thank you all. Thank you all for your presentations. And I ask the members if any of you have any questions regarding these presentations. All right, seeing no hands or not hearing any questions, we will now move on to our public participation item on the agenda. We will hear from participants in the order that they have registered to speak. Each registered speaker will be given 3 minutes for your statement. We ask that each registered speaker to limit your comments to relevant transportation and planning related items. And when I call your name, you will be unmuted and may provide your comments. I received the information on the first registered speaker, Mary Arnold. Mary Arnold is from Civics United for Railroad Environmental Solutions, or CURES. Could you please unmute Mary's mic, and Mary, you may speak. Is Mary unmuted, please?
Yes, she is.
Okay.
Okay, here we.
Hello, Mary.
Okay, hi. You can
Okay.
hear me now? Okay.
We can now, yes.
Thank you so much. Recommended action number 4 in Appendix D that includes expansion of trash incinerators must be removed from the regional transportation plan. It's not a transportation project, and it's unsupported by the regional waste movement studies crude projections, which are due to lack of available data. One type of missing data the study identified as solid waste management planning. For example, the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, DEC's website, shows the status of local solid waste management plans, LSWAMPs. It shows the town of Brookhaven has no approved LSWAMP. There is no indication of activity by the North Hempstead Solid Waste Management Authority after DEC's July 2018 comments, or by the town of Babylon and town of Hempstead after the DEC's March 2018 comments. Other towns in both Suffolk and Nassau counties also do not have approved LSWAMPs. In addition, Putnam County's LSWAMP expired in 2020 with no further activity noted. So while advocating for expanded incinerators as so-called renewable energy with Governor Hochul and preparing to vote on a transportation plan that slips in expansion of incinerators, some voting members of NYMTC also are leaders of jurisdictions that have failed to complete required New York State LSWAMPs. LSWAMPs require local governments to plan first and foremost to reduce waste. Other jurisdictions have rejected the false choice between rail or truck to landfill or incinerator. They really are moving forward with plans to reduce pollution and export to disposal, including New York City's curbside organics collection and local composting. Replacing trucks with ash by rail to landfill is an insignificant emissions mitigation in this incineration scheme, which also works against conformity. And residents by freight rail operations fear toxics from ash by rail based on our experience with C&D by rail. Finally, NYMTC's response to CURE's comment about ongoing use of Tier 0 freight locomotives is frankly insulting and discloses that the MTA has no plans to leverage tens of millions already received in state funding to obtain federal funding. The Long Island Railroad has a so-called active procurement since 2018, and yet my 12 and 17-year-old grandsons are still breathing Long Island Railroad's pollution and the New York and Atlantic Railway's externalities, even though Port Authority, New York, New Jersey bought Tier 4 locomotives in 2015. Thank you. Please do better.
Thank you, Mary. All right, our next registered speaker is Danielle Juki, an advisor to several organizations, including TRUE, the Manhattan Solid Waste Advisory Board, and WEACT. Please unmute Danielle's mic, and Danielle, go ahead.
Hello, Danielle.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. You're a little bit soft, though.
Okay, can you hear me better?
That is better, thank you.
Great. The Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, and Bronx Solid Waste Advisory Boards strongly advise the removal of recommended action number 4 for so-called waste to energy from Appendix D of the draft regional transportation plan. This recommendation flies in the face of New York State policy and mandates, the New York State Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, its scoping plan, the 2023 20-year solid waste management plan, and Governor Hochul's Executive Order 22. This is a radical departure from state policy, and the CLCPA scoping plan explicitly says there must be further research and consideration of life cycle GHG accounting and potential air quality and health impacts for waste to energy prior to supporting demonstration projects. Further, promoting incineration is outside the scope of transportation policy and action. So this addition to the draft regional transportation plan must be examined as required and not promoted in the appendix of the RTP. The state solid waste advisory boards were established in 1989, the year Mayor Ed Koch signed local law 142, requiring incinerators in New York City to shut down within 4 years. Our mandated mission is to help the city reduce waste and increase recycling. Yet, instead of focusing on reducing waste and increasing recycling, we are forced to readdress the trash incineration issue again and again. With what we know in 2025 about the spread of toxics, including PFAS, through trash incineration and recycling, incinerating our trash is an even less acceptable option for managing our trash than it was at the time of our origin 36 years ago. Incinerators turn trash into large amounts of toxic ash and toxic air emissions. They are costly to build and operate, are inefficient, create environmental risks, and would lock the region into high carbon pathways by requiring continual production of waste to feed and finance incinerators. This undermines state mandates to reduce waste and increase recycling. Also, trash incinerators are not sources of renewable energy under New York state law, as the term waste to energy might imply. Further, the December 2023 20-year New York State Solid Waste Management Plan makes it clear that the priority is on waste reduction and reuse, recycling, product stewardship, and extended producer responsibility, organics reduction and recycling, and toxics reduction in products. Incinerators compete with zero waste solutions for the same materials and budget. The focus is not and should not be on perpetuating and expanding incineration, including incinerating fossil fuel-based plastics. For all these reasons, recommended action number 4 that promotes incineration needs to be removed from the regional transportation plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle. And our next registered speaker is Melissa Nader of Cushman and Wakefield in Melville, Long Island. Melissa, you may speak.
This is Melissa. Hi, how are you? This is Melissa Nader with Cushman & Wakefield. I am speaking on behalf as well of the Vice President of SIBS organization, which stands for the Commercial Industrial Broker Society on Long Island. We have around 350 members, and we are strongly opposing the current plan, which is excluding certain Long Island needs for the 12 different roadway expansion programs that have been turned down. We have, especially since COVID, we've had a lot of, rush hour has gotten a lot worse. And if we don't have these expansion infrastructure programs put back in, it's going to continue to get worse and worse. And that's it.
Okay, thank you, Melissa. And then we have another registered speaker, Neil Wiseman. Please unmute Neil's mic, and Neil, you may speak.
He wasn't with us, Deborah.
Oh, he's not. Okay, do you have any other registered speakers?
In the room. He's in the room. He's here. Okay. He's about to speak. Hi.
And then who do we have?
So who do we have? He's in the room. We have a speaker in the room.
Okay.
We good?
Please introduce him and.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Neil Weissman. I head up the Bike Advocacy Complete George. I'm also Public Relations Director for the New York Cycle Club. The following comprises comments on the Palisade Shared Use Path Feasibility Study, whose goal is to come up with active transportation alignments between the Mario M. Cuomo and George Washington bridges. You have printed copies if you're here in the room, and online, if you go to the website completegeorge.org, it will be the link at the top. So here are the notes on the recommendations. The Henry Hudson Drive, which traces the contours of the Palisades from the sea level to its crest, has long been a favorite of regional cyclists. So it's striking that the study declined to include so-called fast cyclists as recommended users. Yet the study did see fit to include slow cyclists and rollers, despite the drive's mile-long climbs and descents, and that the roadways are pockmarked by falling rocks. This is no joke, if you ever biked it. Similarly, fast cyclists are omitted as recommended users of the Talman Mountain State Park crushed stone paths, even though gravel biking is among the fastest growing category in the sport. Fast cyclists are prescribed from the Joseph P. Clark Old Erie Path, even though the alternatives are high traffic roads. And the southern terminus of the State Line Lookout, the study sensibly rejects routing users down the steep and rocky Forest View Trail, but fails to note a paved access road immediately adjacent. The study rejects a proposed alignment connecting West Nyack and Teaneck along the CSX right-of-way, citing the low likelihood of acquiring the rights, fair enough, but it neglects to consider a parallel alignment along public roads. I will skip over the Bergen section, other to note that the study proposes additional separated paths to arterial roads when less direct approaches along residential streets were available. Also, that proposing a narrow two-way path for accessing the GWB on Hudson Terrace would be unworkable due to the physical constraints of the site and the high volume of bike and car traffic. Rather, a layered approach is called for. Ultimately, the study weights opinion of residents who are unlikely to venture outside their immediate areas and are indifferent, if not opposed, to the goals of the study. Worse, the study fails to leverage the collective experience of bike clubs whose members are intimately familiar with the local roads and whose libraries contain routes which could have been appropriated. Ultimately, despite its best efforts, the study produced no workable alignments connecting the bridges, even though cyclists have been biking the corridor for decades. Any questions?
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
All right, and do we have any other registered speakers?
No, we don't, Deborah.
Great, okay, thank you. And thank you all for your comments. We will now begin with the action items on the agenda. All materials related to these action items have been posted on the NYMTC website at www.nymtc.org. As we move through the action items, I request that all voting members announce your name and the agency that you represent when you make a motion or second a motion. The first action is to accept the February 27, 2025 meeting synopsis. May I have a motion to accept the February 27, 2025 meeting synopsis?
Elisa Pica, representing Suffolk County Executive Ed Romaine, motion.
Thank you, Suffolk County. May I have a second?
Second, Craig Rader, representing Westchester County Executive Ed Jenkins.
Thank you, Westchester. Is there any discussion? Does anyone object to the motion? Okay, hearing no objections, the meeting synopsis is accepted. Thank you. The next action item is to adopt Resolution 2025-4, Federal Fiscal Years 2026 to 2055 Regional Transportation Plan and 2025 Congestion Management Process Status Report. I will ask Larissa to, again, give us an overview of the resolution. Larissa?
Yes, thank you, Deborah. So the resolution 2025-4 to adopt the next regional transportation plan and the congestion management process status report. An existing federal fiscal year 2022-2050 plan was adopted by Council on September 9, 2021, and after federal requirements, it will be expiring September 30th of 2025. NYMTC has prepared, as we reported to you today, the draft 2026-2055 plan moving forward 2055, which will be taking place beginning October 1, 2025. In conjunction with the draft plan, NYMTC also prepares the draft 2025 status report for the congestion management process. The draft products meet all applicable federal requirements and have undergone public involvement and public review per federal regulations and NYMTC's operating procedures. And whereas as of August 21st, 2025 meeting, NYMTC's Program Finance Administrating Committee recommended that moving forward 2055 draft and 2025 CMP status report draft be adopted by Council. Now, therefore, to be resolved, the NYMTC Metropolitan Transportation Council adopts moving forward 2055, the 2026-2055 Regional Transportation Plan, and 2025 CMP status report.
Great. Thank you, Larissa. So may I have a motion to adopt the council for the council adoption of the federal fiscal years 2026 to 2055 Regional Transportation Plan, as well as the 2025 Congestion Management Process Status Report?
Hi, Deborah. I'm motioning Paul Ochoa, New York City DOT, on behalf of Commissioner Idanes Rodriguez.
Thank you, New York City DOT. May I have a second?
Joe Cuomo, Nassau County, will second that.
Thank you, Nassau County. Is there any discussion? Okay, so what we will do is we will now vote by roll call, starting with the Lower Hudson Valley. Putnam County.
Aye.
Rockland County.
Aye.
Westchester County.
Aye.
Then for Long Island, Nassau County.
Aye.
Suffolk County.
Aye.
Okay, and for New York City Department of Transportation.
Aye.
New York City Department of City Planning.
Aye.
And then Metropolitan Transportation Authority.
Aye.
And New York State Department of Transportation votes aye. Thank you all. The motion passes. The next item on the agenda is to adopt Resolution 2025-5, Federal Fiscal Years 2026 to 2030 Transportation Improvement Program for council adoption. Mike Toomey of NYMTC staff will give a brief overview of the resolution. Michael?
Thank you, Deborah. Okay, as Deborah said, I would like to present to the Council Resolution number 2025-5, adoption of the Federal Fiscal Year 2026-2030 Transportation Improvement Program. The draft Federal Fiscal Year 2026-2030 TIP has been developed in line with the relevant federal regulations, and it includes project listings and supporting documentation from each of NYMTC's 3 transportation coordinating committees. The draft 2026-2030 TIP is also consistent with the draft Federal Fiscal Year 2026-2055 Regional Transportation Plan, and it is fiscally constrained according to federal regulations. The draft was publicly reviewed for 30 days from June 2nd, 2025 to July 1st, 2025, and all comments received have been addressed and incorporated in the draft document. Additional comments from the executive meetings of NYMTC Transportation Coordination Committees held on July 29, 30, 31, 25 were also addressed accordingly. So we ask that you adopt this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. May I have a motion to adopt this resolution?
Stephen Powers, representing Rockland County Executive Edwin J. Day, moves the resolution.
Thank you, Rockland County. May I have a second?
Clark, representing Dan Garodnick, Commissioner of New York City Department of City Planning.
Thank you, Department of City Planning. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Elisa Pica, representing Suffolk County Executive Ed Romaine. I have a statement from the county executive to read into the record at this time for everybody's information and note. Today's vote reflects the strong partnership between Governor Hochul, county government, and labor to ensure Suffolk County and all Long Island receives its fair share of infrastructure funding. This is important progress, and we look forward to building on it with additional investments in roads, sewers, and mass transit in the years ahead. Long Island deserves a stronger voice in these decisions, and we are grateful that the Governor's office has listened to and responded to our concerns. I will continue to advocate tirelessly to ensure Suffolk County secures the resources it needs and guarantees that we receive our fair share. This is not only a priority of my administration, it is a commitment that will guide us well into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. So now we will vote by roll call, starting again in the Lower Hudson Valley. Putnam County?
Aye.
Rockland County?
Aye.
Westchester County?
Aye.
All right, and moving to Long Island, Nassau County?
Aye.
Suffolk County?
Aye.
Thank you. New York City Department of Transportation?
Aye.
New York City Department of City Planning?
Aye.
Thank you. Metropolitan Transportation Authority?
Aye.
And New York State Department of Transportation votes aye. Thank you all. The motion passes. Before we move to adjourn, I just want to thank all the members. I want to thank their teams, and I want to thank New York NYMTC staff. We've all worked very hard to get to this point, and we look forward to working together and collaboratively as we move forward to make this region and continue to make this region strong. So to conclude today's meeting, I ask for a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Motion, Barbara Barossa, Putnam County.
Thank you, Putnam County. May I have a second?
Second, Elisa Pica, Suffolk County.
Thank you, Suffolk County. Is there any discussion? Does anyone object to this motion? Hearing no objections, this meeting is adjourned. I thank you all again, and travel safely and be well.
We just finished one. Yeah.